So, guys, Ruben Amirom'S first biggest test arrives for him on Wednesday evening on match day 14 of the 24-25 Premier League season away to Mikel Arteta's Arsenal at the Emirates on Wednesday night. It's a bit disappointing and it's very frustrating that this game isn't on the telly, especially when the Christmas festive period is fast approaching. So it's very disappointing that yet again a lot of fans who can't travel to the game, who aren't season ticket holders, who can't afford to go and watch these type of games, are unfortunately unable again to watch these games because yet again the Premier League have made an absolute laughing stock of the way games are covered on certain platforms, on certain media platforms as well, which allows fans not to allow to watch their club's games. It's an absolute disgrace that this game is not on the telly, but the focus for me is fully on Ruben Amorim. It is his first biggest test as Manchester United's manager so far since he took over from Erik ten Hag. And since Erik ten Hag fucked off, Manchester United have so far gone unbeaten in their last 5 to 6 games. So there has been massive signs of improvement. There's been massive signs of positivity. And there's been massive signs of Manchester United are finally starting to move in the right direction under Ruben Amorim. And what I like about Ruben Amorim, I don't think he's scared to hold back. I don't think he's scared to tell it how it is. And I think you've got a manager who wants to play a certain way. He wants the team to be performing the way he wants them to set up. And I think he's also afraid to not get too carried away over the last few period of games where we've picked up 7 points from a possible 9 from our last 3 games. And obviously, he wants to be focusing more on the performances more than the results, which I think is also a massive positive sign from Ruben Amorim that this is a manager that I think completely gets that we're not trying to get too carried away, we're not trying to get too overhyped, and we're not really trying to move quickly. And I think, it's one game at a time, it's one step at a time. But yesterday, after the humbling defeat of Everton, which Man United basically ripped Everton apart, which again was another humbling for the Everton fans and the Everton supporters. Obviously, it is going to be a tough game against Arsenal, who still believe they're in a title race, who still believe they're going to do well in the Champions League, and a club that thinks Mikel Arteta as a god. I mean, I don't think he is, and I don't think Mikel Arteta is that good of an Arsenal manager. I mean, what has he done since he's been at Arsenal? Win one trophy, and that was the FA Cup, and that was about it. And the Arsenal fans massively overhyped this manager. They massively overhyped their realistic chances of a Premier League title race. And they really think they're going to do well in the Champions League, where so far Arsenal have probably been main one of the consistent English teams, as well as Liverpool in the Champions League this season, respectively. But I think, Arsenal are under a lot more pressure than Manchester United because there is a lot of pressure on Arsenal to keep delivering results. There's a lot more pressure on Mikel Arteta to get Arsenal in a title race. And there's a lot of pressure on those Arsenal players who are without a key position in their team, which is a clinical striker. We are used to seeing Arsenal using Kai Havertz in the false 9 position, where they are mainly used to seeing Kai Havertz up front, which normally a top club like Arsenal, you would have a clinical striker to put the ball into the back of the net. And again, I think what Mikel Arteta has done which has been a positive for the Arsenal fans and for the Arsenal supporters, I think he's been allowed to go into that team and he's allowed to put his own ideas across. He's allowed to have full assurances over the squad. He's allowed to make his own decision on the current players. And he's allowed to bring in who he wants. He's allowed to get rid of who he wants as well. And I think, I'm kind of hoping Ruben Amorim will go in the same direction as Mikel Arteta. And what I mean by that is I want to see Ruben Amorim being given full reassurance over the players he wants out of this football club. I want him to be given reassurances on who he wants to bring in. And I'm kind of hoping that everyone will get out of the manager's ideas and the way Manchester United is set up, because after what we saw yesterday, it was very impressive from Manchester United against Everton. And a lot of people were saying, well, it's only Everton. Don't get too carried away. You're more expected to beat Everton more than not. And in my view, you are. And hello to Red Reaper 176 in the chat. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Hope you are good as well on this Monday evening. I think, a lot of people have said, well, it is only Everton. You're mostly expected to beat them. You look at the results Everton have had this season. They've not really got out of a relegation fight after 13 games, only with only 11 points they've collected. And you're expected to win the game. You're expected to get the result, and you're expected to come out on top against a team that are fighting relegation. And I would come back at you and say, well, if Manchester United couldn't have even beat Ipswich, how are you confident that Manchester United is going to be able to beat Everton, especially the way Ipswich performed at Portman Road in our last Premier League away game? And again, it is a big test of where Ruben Amorim is at this current moment in time as Manchester United's manager. I think we can take the confidence, we can take the positivity, we can take the quality that we are finally starting to show. And I think, Ruben Amorim has brought a lot of belief back. There seems to be a lot more optimism. There seems to be a lot more confidence in the players. There seems a completely change of attitude. There seems a completely change of direction under this manager. And I think he's not trying to get too carried away. And that is what I like about this coach. I think Ruben Amorim is trying to do things properly and not get too carried away by the current start he's had. Because if you get too carried away, you get complacent, and complacency brings you bad results. So I think Ruben Amorim so far is doing a fantastic job with the current players he's got to work with. I would think the only massive blow for me tomorrow is on Wednesday, is that we have got no Kobe Mainu and we've got no Lisandro Martinez, who picked up stupid yellow cards yesterday in yesterday's afternoon game against Everton at Old Trafford. I'm really disappointed by both players' unavailability, because I think it would have made Manchester United a lot more stronger having both of those players available for Wednesday evening's game at the Emirates, because they offer immediate quality, they offer immediate security, and they offer quality into that Manchester United team that has been so far lacking this season. But I think we are going to struggle defensively without Lisandro Martinez, because we do see the favoured centre-back partnership of Lisandro Martinez and Matthias de Ligt. And obviously they know each other's game very, very well, because both of them were at Ajax together. And I think it's going to be a big blow, because what would concern me is we've got no Victor Lindelof. We don't know how long Victor Lindelof is out for Manchester United yet again with a hamstring injury. I'm not saying Victor Lindelof's going to be a big loss for this football club, but it does concern me with no Lindelof available, with Martinez suspended. It will concern me what the back three will be on Wednesday night. I mean, are we going to take the risk of starting Harry Maguire away at the Emirates, which is going to be a massive, massive problem for me defensively, especially where Harry Maguire has been wriggled by injuries and he's not really in any equation to be in the Manchester United's current setup. And he only just made a reappearance back from injury yesterday against Everton inside the second half. And for me, I think chucking Harry Maguire back in is a massive risk. For me, it's a massive no. I wouldn't be chucking Maguire back in, because I just don't think Maguire's game or the levels that Ruben Amorim is looking for suits Harry Maguire's game. I don't think it suits the level that we are probably looking for a player like that. I think, the positivity I had for Wednesday's game, I'm feeling incredibly nervous. I'm feeling quite worried about how this is going to go, because I think, in my view, it's going to be a level of where are these players actually at, because in the last three games, Manchester United have played Ipswich, Bodo Glimt and Everton, and all three games you really expect Manchester United on paper to win. And of course, everybody would say that. Everybody would expect Manchester United to win all those three games, but we only got 7 points from 9. So we have dropped points in the first three games under Ruben Amorim, but we've so far gone unbeaten since Erik ten Hag left. Ruud van Nistelrooy took over for a while, and then since Ruben Amorim's come in, everything is looking like sunshine and roses. And you could say United are going to smash Arsenal. I like your confidence. I like your thinking, and I like your positivity. And that is what I like about people, that the confidence is also coming back into the fans. And I love that comment in the live chat. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, because we like that positivity. We like those type of comments. And we like that type of people on this community who bring positivity and happiness to the community and to this channel. And I love your view and your opinion that you think United are going to smash them. And I think in the end, Manchester United are probably going into Wednesday night's game as the underdogs, because Arsenal are in a lot more of a stable position compared to where we're at. But we're only 3 points off top four now. We're only 3 points off top four. We're only 3 points behind Manchester City with a better goal difference. And Arsenal are desperately, desperately trying to seek a Premier League title. They're desperately trying to get top four again. They're desperately trying to get in the mix to lift the trophy at the end of the season. There's a lot of pressure on Arsenal. And you know what happens to Arsenal when the pressure gets on top? United always seem to get the result they want. And when Arsenal put too much pressure on themselves, their performances, they all cave in. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe because we're trying to grow the channel. We're trying to grow the community. And I love this type of people on this channel. So please do subscribe because I'm liking the comments. I'm liking the live chat and I'm liking the positivity everyone's bringing to the channel tonight. Massive shout out to everybody on this planet. You're all amazing people. So yeah, Arsenal do crumble under a lot of the pressure when there's too much pressure put on their shoulders. And Arsenal think they're probably going to go into the game as favourites. And realistically, you're probably right. Arsenal probably are the favourites to Wednesday's game. They are probably based on their form and the goals that they are producing and the results that all of a sudden Arsenal are starting to get transformed again. I mean, if Arsenal fans think Mikel Arteta's the one and that Mikel Arteta is going to lead Arsenal to glory, I would realistically get your eyes open. You've won one FA Cup since he's been there, and what have you won? You're still going about your unbeaten season. And just a bit of reality check, you know that unbeaten season that you apparently went on, you didn't win the Champions League, you didn't win the FA Cup, you didn't win the Carabao Cup. So your unbeaten season of we're so great and we're so amazing, get the 04 season out your heads. We're in 2024. We've moved on 20 years of your look how good we were. We went a whole season unbeaten in the league. Look how fantastic we were under Wenger. Arteta's going to do the same. Arteta will never be able to recreate the history that Arsenal fans have seen in their past. Get over it. You've moved on from that. You haven't got the squad. You haven't got the players. And realistically, if Arsenal don't win a trophy this season, you aren't winning anything. You're not winning the Champions League. You're not winning the league. And you're not winning the FA Cup because we're going to knock you out of that. You've got knocked out. You're going to get knocked out the Carabao Cup. And when you get knocked out the Champions League, I'm going to be sat here laughing at you because I can't stand Arsenal. But I've got two friends who are Arsenal fans. And obviously, I was friends with an Arsenal fan. But then, yeah, look what happened to that. And personally, I want us to go to the Emirates and win. But I am concerned by the lack of availability from Lisandro Martinez at centre-back. That is my big concern for Wednesday. I think, Lisandro Martinez offers that reassurance. He offers that quality next to De Ligt. And I don't want to be chucking players like Maguire back in who don't fit this system. I don't want to be chucking players like that into the team where they're not needed. And I think Matthias De Ligt is probably going to be concerned himself because he knows that when you've got De Ligt and Martinez starting at centre-back together inside the new Ruben Amirom'S back three, there's a lot of stability. There's a lot more defensive awareness. There's a lot more quality that comes through the back three now. When we've changed the setup or now we've changed the formation, it just worries me because I think what we've heard from Ruben Amirom's is that the positivity that might come out of this and what we've heard tonight is Lenny Yoro will be available for Wednesday night's game. Now, I know Lenny Yoro hasn't played a single minute for Manchester United yet, except for pre-season. And I think that was the away game against Rangers. And obviously, he picked up that injury. And I think that injury was against Arsenal on pre-season tour. So having Lenny Yoro back for Wednesday is a massive, massive boost because we are going to need him. We are going to need that type of quality coming into the team. The point I would make is, do you chuck Lenny Yoro straight back in or do you risk starting Maguire and De Ligt? That's the main question and the main obstacle, I think, answers the question. I wouldn't be taking any risks putting Maguire in. I think it would be a massive gamble for Ruben Amirom's to do that. And I think the back three would then massively get exposed, because when Maguire came on for De Ligt yesterday, did anyone notice that Maguire and Lisandro Martinez left quite a huge gap between them? And Maguire was playing right-sided centre-back in the back three, and Lisandro Martinez was at right-sided centre-back. Maguire was at left-sided centre-back. That does really worry me. And knowing we haven't got Martinez available, I honestly wouldn't be risking playing two of the same type of profile centre backs together in a game where Manchester United are going to get hit a lot on the break. Arsenal are going to come at Manchester United. You look at the Arsenal's quality now: Kai Havertz, Saka, Odegaard, Declan Rice, Martinelli. For me, at the moment, those 5 players alone are Arsenal's biggest strong points in their team. They've got a quality midfield, and you have to give it to them that they have. Their front three is something else now, and you've got to give them that. And you've also got to give the bench options at Arsenal are also contains a lot of quality. Lisandro Trossard, you've got Gabriel Jesus. There's a lot of type of players that Arsenal can bring on to change the game. And obviously, the only thing I would say about Arsenal is that at the moment, Trossard seems to be favoured a lot more over Martinelli at this current moment on Arsenal's left wing position. And I think, like a big game like this, Arteta is going to go fully strong. Arsenal do have a lot of injuries. They do have a lot of players that are out and who have picked up knocks. I think the only 2 or 3 players they've got unavailable is Ben White. I think he's out for a long period of time, so it's going to be interesting to see who Arsenal start at right back. Obviously, the main centre-back partnership for Arsenal will be Gabriel and Saliba. At left back, you don't really see Arsenal use a lot of Zinchenko now, who was brought under Arteta, who was the ex-coach assistant to Pep Guardiola at Man City, and Zinchenko was brought from Man City by Arsenal. And all of a sudden, Zinchenko is nowhere near that Arsenal back four at the moment, which, again, a quality player like Zinchenko was at Man City. He showed a lot of quality. He showed a lot of skill in that left-back position. And probably at that current moment in time, Zinchenko was Man City's prime left-back. And I think since he's gone to Arsenal, I think third season syndrome's probably hit, and Zinchenko's in and out of that team quite a lot. So it'll be interesting to see who Arsenal go at left back, because I know Kieran Tierney, who was on loan at Real Sociedad last season, he went on loan and then he picked up a bad injury, and I think he's now back at Arsenal because he couldn't secure a loan move. So for an Arsenal perspective, you might see Kieran Tierney start at left back for Arsenal on Wednesday night. But I think the main problem we've got is trying to deal with Arsenal's midfield, because at the moment we are seeing a lot more game time for Casemiro. We're seeing a lot of game time for Christian Eriksen, except from yesterday. Mason Mount is very much in and out of this team. Manuel Ugarte is on the same path. He's very in and out of this team at the moment. The only realistic midfielder who's got his name on that team sheet at this current moment in time is Bruno Fernandes. And again, in my view, and what concerned me yesterday when Bruno got brought off, if anyone noticed, when it went to the United bench, he had an ice pack on his knee. And obviously Ruben Amirom'S has come out and denied that Bruno Fernandes is injured and that he's got an injury problem. But it did concern me that ice pack was on his left knee. And if that knee injury is bad and that ice pack is there to soothe the pain that Bruno is probably feeling, I don't know if it's the amount of game time Bruno's getting. I don't know if it's the amount of times he is starting for Manchester United, or is it he has been carrying something and he's having to play through the pain barrier, because Manchester United have had a lack of midfielders available to them when Bruno was in most of the team's starting lineup. So obviously it's a good bit of reassurance that Bruno will be fit. It just concerned me if he's playing with an injury and it's with his knee, and you start him against Arsenal and he does his knee more, we are then going to face a problem going forward for the rest of the season where the midfielder that you want to play amongst amongst the front two in the new 3-4-3 setup under Amorim, you're not going to be able to put Bruno there. And then we haven't got Mainu for Wednesday, and obviously no Martinez, we are then left with Casemiro and Mount and Agate. Obviously, I think Bruno will start Wednesday. I can't see why Bruno Fernandes won't start, especially knowing we've got that reassurance from Ruben Amorim that he will be fit to play. There's nothing to worry about with the ice pack situation on his knee, which obviously gives us a boost. We're a much better team with Bruno Fernandes in the team. I think we're a lot worse without him. And obviously, he's probably at the moment Manchester United's current best midfielder. And I think without him, we do really, really struggle for that creativity and that quality when we use players like Eriksen, Mount, Casemiro. And obviously without Mainu, and I don't know where Eriksen was yesterday, because I noticed, if anyone noticed the bench options yesterday, that Eriksen wasn't on that United bench yesterday. So again, has Eriksen picked up another injury? Or is it mainly just down to the amount of options that Ruben Amorim has currently got at his disposal? I think, we can't really risk chucking Eriksen, Casemiro in that team on Wednesday. I think the midfield is going to have to be changed quite dramatically, because at the moment, for me, if we're looking at that team and we're looking at the performance from yesterday, it wouldn't surprise me if the only change that are made for Wednesday's game from yesterday is that Yoro comes in for Martinez. But again, it's a massive risk chucking Yoro straight back in because he is available. He hasn't played a single minute of Premier League football, but he's going to need that game time. He's going to need that experience, and he's going to need to grow as a Premier League footballer. And obviously, if you chuck Yoro straight back in, who's been back in training for weeks, but in the last 3 games has been nowhere near the Bodo Glimt team, the Ipswich team, or the Everton team, if he's been nowhere near those 3 games, my concern is if we chuck Yoro in and he gets injured and he's not ready to play against Arsenal, he's going to get massively exposed, because Liga 1 life to Premier League life is a different kettle of fish. And I don't want Yoro's lack of experience as a Premier League footballer getting exposed by the Arsenal attacking players, because we know the damage Declan Rice can do. We know the damage Odegaard can do. Even Thomas Partey is now back in the Arsenal equation. And a lot of people probably wouldn't have thought that as an Arsenal fan, that Thomas Partey all of a sudden is now back in equation at Arsenal, where he was looking more out than in at Arsenal. And all of a sudden, Thomas Partey's back in that Arsenal team. He's back in that midfield, and he's also scoring quite a few good goals. So again, Arsenal's midfield options, especially with that bloody photograph, bloody college boy, Martin Odegaard, who likes to go and take bloody photos when every time they beat a big team, he gets his camera out. I mean, I hope Martin Odegaard don't do that to us, because if he gets the camera out and he starts going around taking photos, my advice for Martin Odegaard would be to quit football and go to Western College and go and start photography, because I can't stand that cockiness. I can't stand that arrogance of a player who is right up his own crack, right up his own ass, and basically thinks he's bigger and better than anyone connected. As an Arsenal perspective, I mean, I would take him at Man United. He's a quality player. But I think he overhypes his ego. I think he takes it a bit too much over the top. But when he did that to Liverpool, if I was a Liverpool fan, I would have been fucking fuming, because that shows he's right up his own ass and he's right up his own crack. I'm sorry to say, Martin Odegaard is way above his level. His ego is huge and it gets way too big for above his station. But again, he also does bring a lot of quality and a lot of leadership into that Arsenal team. He is their captain after all. And obviously we have seen a lot of Arsenal captains before. Mesut Ozil, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and obviously they were swiftly got rid of by Arteta. Odegaard's come in and he's taken the responsibility of captain bloody seriously, because he probably saw the mockery of what Aubameyang and Ozil were bringing to Arsenal. And Arteta was allowed to get rid of those problems. And all of a sudden, Arsenal look 10 times better of a football club than they've ever looked. They are getting there again, Arsenal. They are starting to become that force again. But again, for me, I think Arsenal still lack that clinical striker who can bang the ball in the net every game. I think Arsenal are massively missing a trick by not using a typical striker, even though, to Arsenal extent, Kai Havertz is probably their main threat in front of goal. He's more of a centre attacking midfielder, and we did see him a lot of his game time at Bayern Leverkusen in that position. But we did see him also inside that Bayern Leverkusen front three. And obviously, Man United were linked to him before we went for Jadon Sancho. And obviously, his Chelsea career, Kai Havertz, went down the pan very quickly. But I think all of a sudden, Arsenal have refound the Kai Havertz that I think Bayern Leverkusen have missed and probably should have never let go of. And all of a sudden, since Kai Havertz has got out of that mess at Chelsea where he was at the time, all of a sudden he looks like a completely different player in front of goal. But he's also got the quality of both wing options in Gabriel Martinelli and also Saka, who again is probably up there for Arsenal's most consistent player, as well as Kai Havertz. I'd even say Martinelli's in the same equation. At the moment, I'd probably say the best two teams who have got the best front threes at the moment, the two most standout teams in the league who have got the best front three, Arsenal and Liverpool. They have got quality, multiple options in that front three department. And at Manchester United, because we changed the setup, because now we've played the formation, Ruben Amirom's has stopped making the problems that Erik ten Hag was making, where we were starting in a 4-3-3 setup, playing two centre-backs, a left-back, a right-back, two centre attacking midfielders, a CDM, and we were playing Garnacho or Rashford on the right, and then Rasmus or Xerxes down the middle, and then either Rashford on the left, Garnacho on the right, or Garnacho on the left and Rashford on the right. And obviously, what I like about Ruben Amirom's, I think he probably saw that as a massive, massive weakness, and that was a problem. And all of a sudden, now we've changed this setup to the 3-4-3, the way we're playing now. What I've liked and what I saw a lot with yesterday, for me, I have to give that as one of the best performances I've seen all season. And again, a lot of people will say it was only Everton, you're going to beat them, you're not exactly going to lose the game. But I would come back at you and probably say we've scored 4 really good goals. Xerxes on the score sheet twice, Rashford on the score sheet twice. We came out the starting blocks and we were absolutely on fire. We've not seen that all season. We never achieved a type of result like that under Erik ten Hag in the league ever. We never saw that quality. We never saw that consistency. Ruben Amirom's is correcting all the problems that Erik ten Hag left and made at the club. And he's had to correct quite a lot. He's had to change things massively for Manchester United to move forward as a club instead of moving 10 times back. Because Erik ten Hag has left us in a lot of shit. And Ruben Amirom's, again, has still got the pressure on his shoulders. He's still got a lot of people on his back. The media, the press, ex-pundits, ex-footballers, many Sky Sports pundits, BBC Sport pundits, ITV pundits, TNT Sport pundits. A lot of people are still questioning Ruben Amirom's. And all of a sudden, I think Ruben Amirom's is starting to take this job really seriously because he wants to succeed. He wants to remember this moment for his life. It's a privilege managing the club. It's a privilege being in the position that he would be in. I would love that opportunity one day to manage the club. But I think the mess that has been left by the Glazers, as well as Ineos, and as well as all the managers of before, which all failed, Ruben Amirom's having to work double the overtime to correct everything that was going wrong. And obviously, it would have been a positive if no one would have got booked yesterday. I think it was a bit stupid from Martinez and Mainu to pick up those bookings, and I'm frustrated by both of them not being available because I think the team would have been massively the same as yesterday. I think the team would have been exactly the same. I don't think Ruben Amirom's would have changed that team up a lot compared to yesterday, now what it's going to be on Wednesday. And obviously, it is a blow not having Mainu. It is a blow not having Martinez. But I think the positive is that we bring Yoro in to start as centre back with De Ligt, and we don't risk by putting Maguire in, who's only just come back from injury. And I think how many did Maguire play 25 or 30 minutes yesterday? I can't exactly remember what time of the game Maguire came on. But again, if you chuck Maguire straight back in and he's only just come back, you're taking a massive risk by the defence being exposed. And I think for Yoro, he's in the same boat. Do you risk that? Or do you, for example, Chuck Malacia, who was terrible against Bodo Glimt and rightfully was dropped yesterday to the bench, which I think was the correct thing to do. Do you put Luke Shaw in the back three and then play wing backs of Delo and Ahmad, but you put Delo on the left wing back and Ahmad on the right wing back? Or do you play quite a strong centre back three? You do bring Yoro in, you give him that game time, you gain that Premier League experience, and he brings that quality. Because I think if Yoro wouldn't have got injured and the way he did, maybe Man United might not have signed De Ligt. In hindsight, if Yoro would have stayed fit and he wouldn't have picked up that injury on pre-season tour, question for Man United fans, and obviously Man United still wanted De Ligt, but if Yoro wouldn't have got injured and he picked up that injury for 3 months, which has nearly been 4, would have Man United signed De Ligt? That's a big question I'm putting out to every Man United fan and every Man United supporter. If Yoro didn't get injured, would have Man United signed De Ligt? And obviously, I think De Ligt has been an absolute bonus signing. I think bringing in 2 centre-backs to improve the back 4 was a massive. And again, I've only just realised, and again, I realised it yesterday, and I forgot to mention, we also don't have Johnny Evans available. We don't have Johnny Evans either. So we're without Lindelof. We're without Johnny Evans, which I don't think is a big blow, to be fair. We're without Lisandro Martinez. It's either Maguire or Yoro. And I think Ruben Amirom's has got to make that decision, and it's got to be the correct one. Don't make a risk that's not worth taking, or put the right player in the right position to partner De Ligt. For me, it has to be Yoro. For me, it's got to be Yoro. If it's Maguire, I dread what the scoreline's going to be in Arsenal's favour. And I still don't think we're going to win this game. I've got to be hopeful. I've got to be optimistic that Manchester United can get something. And I think the way we played yesterday, if we can show that again at the Emirates by going to Arsenal away and getting a good result, at the current moment, if I'm sat here, right now, I'm taking a point. Even though deep down I know that isn't enough. But again, we're a step closer to chasing down top 4. We're back in the top half of the Premier League table now. We're 3 points off a lot of teams now in that league. Top 4 is still on. Champions League football next season is still very much alive. If we would have said that, and we wouldn't have said this under Ten Hag, because the results would have got worse. We wouldn't have beat Everton. We would have struggled against Bodo Glimt, which we still did. And against Ipswich, again, I think Ipswich probably would have beat us. But again, this is the best start any Man United managers had ever. I think the only good time we had after that, didn't we win our first 3 games from 3 under Mourinho? I think that's the only other good start we made. And again, 7 points from 9. I haven't got really too much to complain about. It's just the lack of availability that worries me, because even though I still think we've got the players and the quality to replace Martinez and Mainu, it would have been nice to see Mainu get minutes again, because I thought, again, yesterday Mainu was very, very good. But again, he was living a lifeline. And I think Mainu was lucky not to get sent off yesterday. And I don't know what minute was in or what Everton player he went in on again. And he went for the Everton player's ankle. Mainu was already on a yellow card. If Mainu would have got sent off, which he was lucky he didn't, we would have been down to 10 players for the rest of the match. And I think Everton would have found a way back into that game yesterday. And I think Everton probably would have got something. But I think luckily enough, the damage was already done from the second half, 58 seconds in to find the third goal. So I think maybe Mainu not being available is probably a lot more positive. It's probably a lot more positive than a negative because at least he gets a rest, because it was probably quite a lot to get the best out of Mainu yesterday. And again, he probably wasn't Man United's best standout player, but he was still would have been a better option than starting either Casemiro or Eriksen on Wednesday. And that does concern me. One of those two is going to start. But again, you could see a midfield two of Mount and Agate. And again, we haven't really seen that setup yet. We haven't seen that from Manchester United as of yet under Ruben Amorim or either Eric Ten Hag. We've not seen that midfield combination being worked on or used yet. And I think maybe it is an opportunity for Mount to come in. Maybe it's a chance to, do you know what? Mainu's out, he's suspended. You now take your chance, you go and take your opportunity, and let's see what you can do against Arsenal. We know we're expecting a lot. We know the game is going to be very, very tough, but let's try and see what that midfield partnership can do. And it might be a blessing in disguise because, again, I was disappointed not to see Agate start yesterday because he's one of my favourite players and I love what he's done for this club since we bought him from PSG, even though it took 3 months too long. And I want to see Agate in that team consistently because I think Man United's midfield looks a lot more stronger and a lot more desirable and a lot more thicker, a lot more stronger. And I think there's a better mentality and a better structure and a better balance when Agate is in that team compared to the likes of Eriksen, compared to like a Casemiro. I think, again, for me, I think the most midfielders who are going to look like they're going to leave in the future, we've still got to get rid of Eriksen on a free, which I think we will do because I don't think we'll extend his contract. I think we're going to have to try and somehow ship out Casemiro because even though to an extent Casemiro has done really well since Eric Ten Hag went, I still don't think long term that's the answer for the midfield to be as strong as what I think Ruben Amorim wants it. And maybe you do then move Mount on and get that number 7 shirt off him because it's not really happened for him either at this football club. So you are then left with Mainu, Agate and Fernandes. And then that's it. So we would need another 2 to 3 midfielders being brought in to improve the midfield at this football club. And I don't know who the targets are. I don't know who we're looking at. But again, I'm kind of hoping that the midfield won't be containing Eriksen and Casemiro because for me, that's going back to the days of Eric Ten Hag, where in second season, what happened? We saw the main midfield three that were which were in season 1. The midfield was not improved at all. I think we brought in Amrabat and Mason Mount, and we still had Hannibal Mabry and we still had Scott McTominay. So again, United need to look at that midfield options as quick as possible. And I think Agate is most likely the guy that comes in for Mainu. It will just be interesting to see who Agate starts with. I'm kind of hoping it will be Mount, and then we play Bruno further forward. And again, the front two is going to be very questionable next to Bruno Fernandes because if you're looking at it from yesterday, there's a serious possibility that Xerxes has to start again, and so does Marcus Rashford because their performances yesterday were fantastic. Like, I couldn't believe how all of a sudden Xerxes looks like this player that we've all been, waxing lyrical when we brought him and then all of a sudden fell off a cliff. And all of a sudden yesterday, we saw the very, very best of Joshua Xerxes. And again, his finishing yesterday was very, very clinical. It was clinical finishing, clinical quality. And the same has to go for Marcus Rashford, who looked, again, very, very subdued and more out of Manchester United and in under Ten Hag. I think both those players struggled. And I don't know why they struggled. I don't know why they weren't showing the form that the football club believes they've got the levels to improve and be better as players on and off the pitch. And it just looked like Man United were absolutely on it yesterday. And I think Ruben Amorim has got a very, very difficult decision ahead of him because I think logically you can't really drop them. But again, it will come back to again, and this is the only excuse I've got a concern over, and I've heard it a lot. Look at the amount of games we've got to play in December. Look at the amount of football we've got to play. We have to freshen the team. We have to change the players. We've got to change the team up to freshen the ideas. We've got to rotate to keep the squad fresh. We've got to balance the team in the correct way. We've got to get the best out of the players. We've got to change the team where it's necessary. And we've got to bring in players when half the team looks tired. I think it's going to be very hard for players like Rasmus to come back in on Wednesday night. I think it's going to be quite easy for Agate to come in for Mainu, which I think is probably the most ideal candidate to replace Mainu through his suspension, is to bring Agate in. I think Xerxes will have to start. I can't see why Xerxes doesn't start on Wednesday, but compared to Everton, compared to Arsenal, the quality is going to be there in the centre-back partnership of Arsenal with Saliba and Gabriel. And again, we need to get at Arsenal pretty quick, and we need to find the same consistency that we did yesterday. Because Xerxes and Rashford, again, like I described it yesterday, it was the Rashford and Xerxes show. Like, I've not seen that type of quality from either of those players for a very long time. And I don't know if it was down to Erik ten Hag's coaching methods or the approach or the tactical setup, or was it down to a lack of confidence or a lack of belief or a lack of mentality? Was it a mentality issue? But it looked like Man United were miles ahead of schedule. Like, it really showed yesterday that if Ruben Amorim gets this right, and all of a sudden the fringe players that looked massively out of form, and I have to agree with what Dion Doblin said on the FA Cup third round draw this evening, which unfortunately, when ball 3 gets drawn out and it's Arsenal, and ball 23 gets drawn out and it's bloody Manchester United, I have to agree with Dion Doblin. All of a sudden, some of the fringe players that looked massively out than in and looked miles and miles away from their levels that they can be and should be, all of a sudden, Ruben Amorim has absolutely transformed some of these players' career overnight. And I don't know why all of a sudden Xerxes found in the back of the net yesterday, and it's the same for Marcus Rashford, for both of them to score 2 goals each to get us that 4-0 win. That does take quite a lot. And, their performances were very, very, very good. And I think, Garnacho's going to find it hard to come back in. I don't think Garnacho did a lot yesterday in his second half cameo. I think obviously Rasmus was apparently exhausted from the Bodo Glimt game and couldn't play yesterday. So would a fresh set of legs for Xerxes be more sensible? I'm not 110% sure, but I think the team can't be much change from yesterday, except for the main problems that we face is that we can't start Maguire. I think if we start Maguire, we're in for a long night. And I think if either Casemiro and Eriksen both start in a midfield too, with both the wing-back supports, which I think is going to be Delo and Ahmad, the back 3 of Yoro, De Ligt, Mazraoui, and then the front 3, Bruno, Rashford, Xerxes. I mean, would that be your team? That would be my predicted lineup. That would be my gut feeling, is that not a lot of that team's going to change from Sunday, only for the 2 main articles, which is no Martinez, no Mainu. But it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be interesting to see where Ruben Amorim's at with this Man United squad and these set of players. It's going to be interesting to see where they are at this moment, because from Everton to Arsenal, the quality's night and day between both clubs. One team's fighting for European and FA Cup glory, Carabao Cup glory, as well as Champions League glory. And you've got a club like Everton who are in a relegation 4 years in a row, 4-year battle with relegation, were shocking yesterday, really let the Everton fans and supporters down massively. The quality's night and day. And I think Man United will have a tough evening. But where I sit now, if we take a point, I would take a point. But I would love to go to the Emirates and win for my own fucking reasons. Everyone knows why I want to go there and win. And I hope we do. I hope Man United prove me wrong. If we can go to the Emirates and win, this season could get turned around. And by May, we might have Champions League qualification. We might get top 4. We might win the Europa League, FA Cup, and Carabao Cup. But let's wait and see. But at current moment in time, I would take a draw and I would take a point. But let's see what happens on Wednesday night. So please hit the like button and the share button. Please hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel, which is United Red Devils 20 on YouTube. Share the video, hit the tweet button, hit the retweet button. And always remember the notification bell. If you put that bell on at all times, you will receive dedicated and upcoming brand new content in this last month of 2024. I can't believe we're in December and it's the 2nd of December already. It's 23 days till Christmas. It's 22 days till Christmas Eve. And theoretically, it's 30 days till New Year's Day and 2025 will be here. So we've got brand new videos, brand new shorts, and brand new live stream planned for this last month and this year in 2024. If you put that notification bell on, you'll see all that live content, videos and shorts. And then please join me from the full-time reaction, from the full-time whistle at the Emirates on Wednesday night. Hopefully, Man United can get an unlikely result. If we can get a win, would be a blessing. But if we could take a point, I will take it. So enjoy your Monday evening. Stay safe, be nice, be kind to each other. All legends, you're all legit. And I'll see you all on the next one.